the public can quickly see where you've gotten it, they will not be happy. Over the weekend, I was speaking of a young member of parliament from my community who has bought a helicopter. And I know him very well. I wish him well to continue accumulating wealth. I wish him well to continue accumulating wealth. But please, I'm asking the president to ask himself, how can the membership of an MP to a committee of parliament be the basis for him to be able to afford some of the things that are not affordable? Honorable Didmus Barasa, take it easy. Those helicopters will not change your life. Mr. Speaker, I equally offended somebody whose name I never mentioned in Kakamega over the weekend about this issue of opulence. I just wondered, how would an MP be able to donate 20 million shillings at a Harambe? He was very offended. In another function, I saw of this government carrying a white bag, on the back like this, and started announcing how many millions are in that bag. Said, Moja, Billy. No. Mr. Speaker, if we don't refuse these things, people like Murkomen will think that they are giving us their money. It's not their money. Those are proceeds of... This House is saying no. Because of that anger, look at what our children did. Mr. Speaker, people are angry and hate us as leadership because every weekend, helicopters, they crisscross the skies, all of them going to functions where this... The fuel guzzlers that we drive, I know if you go to this parking, Mr. Speaker, you can see the difference between the vehicle four-wheel drive driven by your senators compared to those ones driven by members of the National Assembly. In the parking of the Senate, you see Prados. But in the parking of the National Assembly, you see high-end vehicles that sometimes you only see. And why, Mr. Speaker? Because of an unconstitutional fund called CDF. That unconstitutional fund, the courts made a pronouncement that it was unconstitutional and illegal. How did we respond as Parliament? The National Assembly, without blinking an eye, went and exercised legislative impunity by twisting the act so as to be allowed to continue with that unconstitutional, illegal process. Mr. Speaker, as I speak to these guzzlers, you have seen colleagues. You are there struggling to rush to this Senate, then an MP, then a Secretary General of a political party comes with chase cars, his vehicle having the national flags with a siren, and the police does not arrest those people. The law is very clear on who should actually fly the national flag. The law should be very clear on whose convoy should be cleared with sirens. This is the impunity that is making our young people to turn against us. Mr. Speaker, I want to celebrate the President for the remark he made on Sunday during the interview that he was fielding questions. I did not support the fact that the president was fielding questions. I did not. Because I know that the president has people who are supposed to have fielded those questions. As like the leader of the majority was saying, the responses to security that the president was doing should either have been done by regular briefs by the IG or by Professor Kidura Kindiki. What was the president being put there, being humiliated by the people of the media? But I celebrate him for accepting that we have wasteful expenditure in several offices in this country. Professor respected Githu Muigai gave, while in office, a legal advisory opinion on something called the Office of the First Lady. I urge you, colleagues, to go and read that. He convinced me, and those who will read it after me, that the issue of First Lady is actually foreign to our Constitution. As if it's not enough, we had not only have the Office of the First Lady, wife of the President, gobbling millions of shillings, we also have another one for the Office of the wife of the Deputy President, another one for the Office of the wife of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, another one for the Office of the Governors. I always say, God bless Kenya. If I had that ambition, then if I were to ascend to one of these offices that people think they should have those wives as first ladies, you would check my family. Who will be my wife? Who will be the first lady? Will be my first wife, my second wife, my third? Which one? Those are private family issues that should never be brought in public. I am a student of Michael Kijana Wamalwa. I am a student of George Welime Captain. I never saw Wamalwa's wife or George Welime's Captain's wife address any function, not in Luhyaland, not in their constituencies, nowhere else. Their purpose was to make sure that visitors have eaten. What became of husbands in this country? Mr. Speaker, very quickly, because the light is now on, people are angry and hate us because of impunity. The impunity you are seeing, that we have a director of public prosecutions who, from Monday to Friday, sits scheming on which language and which law to use so as to help people who are politically correct, criminals who have court cases, to be released. I don't know if that is why. I don't know if that is why we separated the office of the Attorney General from the office of the Director of Public Prosecution and made it an independent office. Not only from Kakamega, but the DPP is my sister's son from Malinya there. That it's not necessary. Let criminals who have stolen property, and you know them, go through the due process. If it was working, some of the ministers in office today would not be ministers. They became ministers because a corrupt Parliament allowed them to become ministers, and then the DPP followed it up by withdrawing their cases. Mr. Speaker, impunity of tribalism. Leader of the majority, you have said it. Where will the children from the tribes where the president does not come from, where deputy president does not come from, where the prime cabinet secretary does not come from, how will they get jobs? Mr. Speaker, they hate us because of the impunity of nepotism. I know of a cabinet secretary who has employed in his office 2 sons of, yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the impunity, shooting members of the public dead. And they are set free. And we say we are living in a country of rule of law. Mr. Speaker, there is anger and hatred because the government is unable to fix this monster called CBC system. That system has killed free primary education. That system has destroyed the quality of education. For many years, my children have been doing the exam at Marinya Primary School, all of them. It's only right now that for the first time, my daughter, Sonia Inuni Khaluare, is now in class 7 junior secondary in a private school, because at Marinya Primary School, where we all went to, all my children and myself, it has collapsed. There are 2 teachers in a class of 150 teaching our children of the poor. So there's no learning going on, colleagues. Mr. Speaker, there is anger and hatred because of the insensitivity of this parliament. We are so insensitive that when the issue of housing levy was raised, we did not respond critically. Allow me just to conclude. Mr. Speaker, can I?
Give Senator Boni further 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the housing levy, I was shocked. We were addressed by the CS National Treasury, who told us that they were contemplating investing the money collected from the housing levy into treasury bills, meaning that we got money from members of the public and we are unable to absorb it. It therefore teaches me that we should have collected less to meet our capacity to absorb. Instead of wiping people's pay slips, and now we are unable to use that money. Mr. Speaker, finally, things to do. Mr. President, dissolve cabinet, reconstitute it. Mr. President, disband offices outside the Constitution, including CAS, including Prime Cabinet Secretary. It is not in the Constitution of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, including officers of First Ladies, including, Mr. Speaker, advisors. If advisors are useful, then what David Ndii is doing is not advice, is misadvice. Mr. Speaker, the President should quickly restructure the security organs by firing people, the IG included. And finally, but not least, all the Sky teams must be grounded. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm on.
Senator Wambua. Senator Enoch.
Yeah? Okay, let me use the dispatch. I have a lot of documents. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing us to provide leadership. Mr. Speaker, we are doing this at a time that the people of Kenya feel, and rightfully so, that leaders have used them and dumped them. They feel that, Mr. Speaker, that they held the ladder for us to climb to the top of the tree and appropriate fruits for everyone. But when we got to the top, we kicked the ladder and we are eating the fruits alone, enjoying the fruits of their labor and vomiting on their heads. Mr. Speaker, this is a time of crisis. And at a time of crisis, the leadership must be demonstrated. We are here, Mr. Speaker, as the upper house, as senators of the Republic of Kenya, to provide that leadership. Mr. Speaker, we are hearing a lot of things from young people, from our constituents, and we cannot pretend that the things that these people are saying don't make sense to us. These things are sensible. I want to address myself, Mr. Speaker, to 3 issues in that motion. First, Mr. Speaker, is on the Finance Bill 2024-2025, which was a monster that triggered the crisis that this country finds itself in. If the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, had listened to the people, we would not be where we are today. Mr. Speaker, that's a point at which I want to respectively, as a leader, differ with the President on his comment during the interview that perhaps the 204 members of the National Assembly who voted in support of the finance bill would be our future heroes. Mr. Speaker, those 204 members of the National Assembly who voted yes for this bill are sellouts. They have failed this country. They have failed their constituents. They have reason to apologize to this country. As a Speaker, we are where we are, deep into a crisis that threatens to tear our country apart. The young people on the streets are the true patriots, people driven by a deep sense of love for their country. And they are saying they don't want their country to go to the dogs. They love their country, they love their lives, they have a future to look into. The Speaker, I must applaud this upper house of the Parliament of the Republic of Kenya for staying engaged at a time like this, because this is what is required of leadership. The leaders in the lower house, whose action has brought us where we are, have run away. We are here to clean up their mess. They should forever occupy their space and listen when the people of Kenya speak. They must listen when the upper house speaks. Mr. Speaker, my reading of Article 115 of the Constitution on presidential assent and referral tells me that, Mr. Speaker, we have a window to take possession of the finance bill referred by the President to Parliament and deal with it. Why do I say this, Mr. Speaker? I say this, Mr. Speaker, because the article deliberately says that the President shall refer the bill back to Parliament for reconsideration. Article 93 of the Constitution defines Parliament as both the National Assembly and the Senate. Mr. Speaker, lead with courage. Bring that bill to the floor of this House this afternoon or tomorrow, and let us deal with it. The Speaker, on the matter of the austerity measures, as captured in the motion that we are debating today, first I want to call out the SRC, led by Lynn Cherop Megich. You are completely out of order. Completely out of order. How dare you publish salary increments for public and state officers at such a time as this? What exactly do you want to achieve? In fact, Mr. Speaker, because the majority leader, when he was moving this motion, he said that there are some institutions that must appear before us. The first institution should be the SRC. Who has sent them to fuel discontent in the country at a time that this country is bleeding? Who does that? Mr. Speaker, I want to echo the words of my leader, the minority leader in the Senate. We as senators, and we will pass it as a resolution at the end of this motion, we are not interested in that pay rise. We are not interested. In fact, one of the conversations that we have been having, and it will crystallize by the end of this motion, is where do we cut our own budgets as a Senate, as individual senators? For the SRC to do what they have done, I want to say this on the floor of this House: shame on that institution, and shame on Lynn Cherop Megich. The Speaker, the other officer that I want to call out, and I want to borrow the ears of the majority leader, because this is important. This is very important. I want to call out the head of public service, and for a reason. On May 24th, a day before this crisis started in this country, the head of public service wrote to the Public Service Commission to begin the process of recruiting CASs, administrative secretaries. Who does that at such a time as this? Who does that? Mr. Speaker, we want to call on the head of public service to receive that letter like yesterday, or seeking advice from the PSC on how to recruit cabinet administrative secretaries at a time that we are saying we cannot afford the cost of running these offices. The Speaker, the next person of interest that should appear before this Senate and speak to the country is the head of the public service. The Speaker, I want to challenge the President, respectively again. The cost of living is what it is. Too much talk is not helping anyone. We have said everything that could be said. It is time for action. And there are things that I know the President can do and bring down the temperatures in this country. One of the things that he can do, even today, is to reduce his cabinet. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution, Article 152, gives the minimum number of cabinet secretaries and the maximum number. He can appoint between 14 cabinet secretaries and 22 cabinet secretaries. As we speak now, we have 21 cabinet secretaries. The Speaker, I want to call on the President as a demonstration that he has listened and understood what the people are. Reduce the size of your cabinet from 21 to 14, the minimum. Merge departments. Reduce the number of secretaries from 51 to around 30, or even 14, to match the number of cabinet secretaries that we have. The Speaker, and there is jurisdiction to this argument. When you look at the United States of America, where we go to borrow money all the time, go for benchmarking all the time, Senator Alwale, the size of the cabinet in the US is 15. With a population of 140 million people, 14 cabinet secretaries in the US. When you look at China, with a population than 1.5 billion people, the members of the State Council is the cabinet secretaries are 26. What are we doing with 21 cabinet secretaries with a population of less than 60 million and an economy that cannot support that kind of expenditure? The Speaker, let us reduce that number. The Speaker, it is time for us all, and especially those who are in authority, to walk the talk. I said, too much talk is not helping anyone. I'm hearing of usual threats that those who break the law will face the full force of the law. That as we carry out these investigations, no stone will be left unturned. Mr. Speaker, making sense a long time ago. It is time for action. This sitting of the Senate is a call to action. And those others who are in positions of responsibility. Mr. President, if you love your country and you have listened to what the demonstrators are saying, let aid roll in the security apparatus and departments of this country. Speaker, I asked some young people from my office to tell me when the Inspector General of Police, Japheth Kome, spoke to this nation, and they went to the archives, told me that the last time that the IG spoke to Kenyans was on 17th of April 2024. And what was he saying? He was saying, and I quote, that as the Inspector General of Police, I would like to assure you of police officers being dispatched to Haiti. He's saying, I want to assure you that they, the officers, have the capacity in this mission, and that they will deliver when they get to Haiti. That's the last thing that Kenyans had. When the country is burning, the IG is silent. The Speaker requirements for demonstrations is that demonstrators would notify the police, they would be guided on where to go and how to organize their demonstrations, so wherever they are going, presentation of petitions. The IG is absent. Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, the words that the President used on the phone, Mr. Mutiambai, on the level of incompetence and being clueless, perhaps those words are better used on IG Kome. Perhaps actually the President spoke too early when he addressed Mutiambai. Competence and lack of capacity, the Inspector General of Police is the embodiment of lack of capacity to lead the Kenya Police. Mr. Kome must leave office immediately for this country to enjoy peace and tranquility. The Speaker, lastly, let me speak on this matter of corruption. The Speaker, corruption has become the order of the day in this country. Unfortunately, with the responsibility of fighting corruption is itself the biggest den of corruption. The EACC, the Speaker, is either unwilling or unable to fight the country. They will not help us in this journey. The Speaker, I've listened to the presentation by the majority leader on the performance of the judiciary. Record to applaud the CJ, the Chief Justice, for having the courage to lead from the front. A lot more needs to be done in the judiciary, and especially on matters of corruption. That justice now has become a commodity of sale in the judiciary is a very sad state of affairs in our country. We want this corruption to be tackled properly, and the Speaker also challenged the demand side of corruption. Demand side of corruption is the Speaker. We must have a candid conversation as a country. When churches and schools and hospitals and when they look at their members of parliament, the people serving the public service, as the people who are supposed to give them money in Arambes to every weekend, every day of the week, where is it that we expect these people to get this money from? Mr. Speaker, we must have a national dialogue, a national conversation on how to. But lastly, Mr. Speaker, the Speaker, including what Senator Onyonka has said, but more this thing about members of parliament, about public officers being expected to dish out money in Arambes every.
Let's add 2 minutes for the Senator to conclude.
Thank you, the Speaker, for indulging me. So this idea of members of parliament being seen as moving ATMs, people who have so much money to just give, to people. Mr. Speaker, that will not help us. We must learn to live within our means, both the leaders and the people being led. Let people not expect too much money, too much contributions from members at a time that we are saying we must uphold austerity for this country to move forward. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, as the majority has said in moving the motion, let us now have a new budget estimate tabled before Parliament so that now we can debate and pass a budget that reflects our ability to finance our own operations. Mr. Speaker, there was no reason why the members of the National Assembly added themselves 30 million shillings for CDF. What for? If you multiply 30 million shillings by 280 constituencies, that is 87 billion Kenya shillings. 8.7 billion Kenya shillings. Why are we doing that? For what? In fact, that money should be going to counties as part of the equitable share. Mr. Speaker, we must confront these issues and deal with them as they are. Mr. Speaker, with those many remarks, I support the motion.
Senator Samson Cherargei.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I want to congratulate the majority and minority leader and my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, for having to resist the temptation to go and hide, just like our colleagues have done, Mr. Speaker. I would be somewhere in Kimondi Forest near Kapsabet, running away from my Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask, in fact, this should be corruption, where you run away from your duty, Mr. Speaker. I remember when we were supposed to resume is when unfortunate events and incidences were happening in the city, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that I'm among the senators who found it wise to continue with our duty because we are being paid to proceed with our duty as envisaged by Article 96, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to tell Kenyans, including our young brothers and sisters, the Generation Z, because some of us are millennials, that we have heard you, we listen to you, we apologize for some of the transgressions that might have escaped our attention in addressing some of the challenges, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while a lot has gone through in this country, we must agree that some of these challenges that we face as a nation, Mr. Speaker, has built up for many years, many decades, Mr. Speaker, many challenges since, Mr. Speaker, the onset and independence, both pre and most post-colonial independence of this republic, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on Tuesday, when the young people decided to visit Parliament and enjoy the hospitality, although they went away with a number of flags, Mr. Speaker, and also were able to take photos at the floor of the House, at the National Assembly to be precise. And I saw one of the pastors, I don't know, speaking at that aftermath, Mr. Speaker. It was very unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. I saw people who are running helter and skelter, Mr. Speaker. The unfortunate part, as we were being evacuated, was some of the media houses were streaming live, Mr. Speaker, exposing the lives of many members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, I know yourself, not specifically, but the substantive Speaker and Senator Chute and other colleagues said to use ambulances, Mr. Speaker, to escape the arm, Mr. Speaker. Even as that happened, Mr. Speaker, and I want to point out this, under Article 118, Article 34 and 35, right to freedom of information and media, we should not, even at any given time, Mr. Speaker, block or deny access to media the way it has been done, Mr. Speaker. We should look access of media to the floor and to Parliament prisons case by case, Mr. Speaker, because I'm told there is a silent gag order that has been issued against access of media to the prisons of Parliament, which is very unfair. Kenyans need to know what is happening, especially as the legislators transact business, Mr. Speaker. So I hope through your office you can consult and ensure that case by case, while I do not agree that media were able to expose members of Parliament and report live that they were being evacuated through the tunnel or being taken away by the ambulances or they were changing clothes, Mr. Speaker, I met one member of National Assembly, decided to remove the entire suit and wear a vest and a boxer to escape the rat, Mr. Speaker, through Landimawe, Mr. Speaker, in this city. While those are tactics that people evaded what was happening in that day, Mr. Speaker, it is not a justification to deny media access and issue a gag order against access to media, to the presence of Parliament. And therefore, I want to ask your office and Parliamentary Service Commission to resist the temptation to give out unconstitutional orders of denying access of media, because Kenyans need to know what we are doing. Mr. Speaker, I've used an example of 1932, when there were allegations that there was a letter that was being sent to the House of Congress and Senate that had poison. The Congress decided to close the House and run away. In the subsequent elections, the entire congressmen were voted out. But the Senate of the Republic of United States of America remained true to its cause and addressed the Great Recession, and that is why they are remembered. And that is why we have distinguished ourselves, Mr. Speaker, as the upper house. Mr. Speaker, there are many issues that young people have raised. Issue of corruption, issue of governance, both at national and county governments, Mr. Speaker. Issue of lack of opportunities. Issue of nepotism, Mr. Speaker. Issue of not being listened to, Mr. Speaker. There are many challenges, and I want to assure the Gen Z and any other Kenyan, Mr. Speaker, Parliament is a public place. If there were proper organization, they would have accessed Parliament. Many Kenyans access Parliament. I want to put this straight, Mr. Speaker. Under Article 126, 1 of the Constitution of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, Parliament can sit anywhere. And I want to call upon the Gen Z and any other Kenyan. Parliament can sit in Uhuru Park. Parliament can sit in Migori. That is why we have Senate machinery, Mr. Speaker. The Constitution gives us as a Parliament to sit even in Garissa, in Mandera, even in your county, Mr. Speaker, and listen to the Kenyans. And I'm happy as we talk this, Mr. Speaker, on the Senate machinery, we are doing it in Busia. We have done it in Makueni. We did it in Turkana. We have done it in Uasin Gishu, Mr. Speaker. Kenyans should know that Parliament is ready to listen to them. Under Article 126 of the Constitution, Parliament can sit anywhere within the borders of the Republic of Kenya. Even if they want us to sit in KICC, we can sit there, Mr. Speaker, and listen to Kenyans, and especially the Gen Z, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, from the onset, I want to send my deepest condolences, Mr. Speaker, from my family, from myself and the great people of Nandi County, to many Kenyans who have lost their lives, unfortunately, and wish quick recovery to many Kenyans who, as both, Mr. Speaker, have endured injuries during this, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, even when we exercise Article 37, Mr. Speaker, the law is that it must be peaceful and unarmed. On the first few days when the young people came out, Mr. Speaker, the protests were largely peaceful. It was later, Mr. Speaker, inflated by the criminals, Mr. Speaker. We have seen incidences where the security officers have been injured. You remember the inspector of the police that lost both hands, Mr. Speaker? We have a number of police officers who they have injured and some have lost their lives, as well as the protesters, Mr. Speaker. I want to ask, even as you protest under Article 37, Mr. Speaker, which is your right, peacefully and unarmed, let us resist the temptation of allowing goons and criminals to infiltrate, Mr. Speaker. And I want to challenge the DCI and other security agencies, Mr. Speaker. Should anybody who is a criminal or goon who is looting public property, Mr. Speaker, because I know, Mr. Speaker, the business community was stating that, and I hope the Ministry of Interior will sit and evaluate at the end of all these chaos, Mr. Speaker, because I saw they were putting value of looted property to be around 3 billion Kenyan shillings, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, I want to challenge, Mr. Speaker, that even as young people and any other Kenyan demonstrate, they should do so in a peaceful manner, and the police should provide, Mr. Speaker, the necessary security. Mr. Speaker, I want to borrow the many other issues that my colleagues and associates strongly with. Ordinarily, it should not be the president responding to all these other issues, especially on regular security briefs, Mr. Speaker. I would have expected even the police spokesperson. We used to have somebody called Owino as the police spokesperson. Mr. Speaker, Brian Shusho, Now we have the Inspector General of Police. In fact, the only time Inspector General of Police has responded is when he saw allocations of fatalities in Haiti. He sent a statement, Mr. Speaker. Even not legally, even morally, Mr. Speaker, the Inspector General of Police at least should have even appeared on a regular basis to update the country on security situation, Mr. Speaker, and tell the country how many people, unfortunately, have died, how many have injured, how many properties have been looted, or what is the state of the security, Mr. Speaker. What is the state of the homeland security, Mr. Speaker? I think that is the least we expected from Inspector General of Police, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I think his stay in office is no longer tenable, Mr. Speaker. We must do a proper reshuffle within the security apparatus of this country, especially the homeland security, Mr. Speaker, so that we have a police service, not a police force, as was envisaged by the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. So I agree with my colleagues that the Inspector General of Police must be called out for failing to provide leadership, Mr. Speaker, for failing to morally and legally even update the country on security situation, Mr. Speaker. We are being told there was demos, Mr. Speaker, yesterday. There are others being planned on the way. The least we expect, even cases of where police have shot, Mr. Speaker, incidences. He should be briefing the country at what circumstances that the police shoot some of the protesters, and are they working together with Independent Policing Oversight Authority? IPOA, Mr. Speaker. Number 3, Mr. Speaker, is on corruption. My colleagues has put it, we know, Mr. Speaker, when I raise an issue of opulence of some of the cabinet ministers, I was blasted, I was accused of being jealous, I was accused of not knowing how to do deals. Mr. Speaker, I was accused of coming to take tea and mandazi in parliament instead of going to Tanzania and other countries to broker deals, Mr. Speaker, which is very unfortunate. And I was just calling out, don't eat too much and vomit before the feet of Kenyans. As a former ambassador would say, Mr. Speaker. Even in my culture, where I come from, you don't eat and open your shirt. It is a curse, Mr. Speaker. And I called out, and you remember, I was being blasted left, right, and center, Mr. Speaker, and I warned them that if this trend of displaying opulence by members of parliament and some cabinet ministers without humility, and I'm happy, Mr. Speaker, for the last 2 weekends, at least the quality of hair has improved. Because when choppers were crisscrossing, it was also affecting our agenda of climate change, Mr. Speaker, where people would fly in, land, reorganize the program of a funeral or a church service, speak, insult other elected leaders, Mr. Speaker, call them dimwits, call them fools, the way I was being called in Nandi last year, give out the money that God knows where they got it from, millions of shillings, Mr. Speaker, and then they fly away from the chopper, disrupting, Mr. Speaker, a social function for the next 1 hour or 30 minutes, Mr. Speaker, until they settle, Mr. Speaker. So the issue of corruption, and I think, Mr. Speaker, as a proposal to the President and EACC, Mr. Speaker, we must start doing lifestyle audits to all of us, state officers and all governors. Any person who is serving in a public office, we must do lifestyle audit. We must know, so that the reason Kenyans were on the streets, the reason Genz were calling us out, is because they are wondering, how can you contribute 20 million shillings in an Arambe, and yet they don't have even 100 shillings. They were wondering how a cabinet minister would be in Arambe counting millions of shillings, and the roads are not there, Mr. Speaker. And the water is not there, Mr. Speaker. So they are wondering, we are telling them the economy is bad, but we preside an Arambe worth millions of shillings, Mr. Speaker. It is not bad to do an Arambe. It is not bad to help people, but we must do their, and I'm telling you, I know some people, even who had bought shirts for funerals, dark suits, because their only thing was just, when they hear social function, Senator Sifuna, they appear. But they have never visited the bad roads that are in our counties, or look even at the water, Mr. Speaker. But they will find time to go and insult other leaders, Mr. Speaker. I think corruption also is not doing your job, Mr. Speaker. It doesn't necessarily that you have stolen, failing to do your job with integrity. Reporting to your duty station is part of corruption, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, number 3, I propose that EACC must be disbanded forthwith with capital letters. They have failed from national to counties, Mr. Speaker. In fact, when you steal, they come and see you Nyuma attend, they slap you on the wrist, and they go away. If today EACC was serious, 3/4 of governors would be in jail by now. I can tell you for free. Because even some of the people serving at the state officers, Mr. Speaker, they should be in jail. But EACC have failed us. While I agree they don't have enough resources, it is time we disband the EACC and restructure EACC and redevelop EACC to win back the public confidence, Mr. Speaker, of this republic going into the future. If you ask EACC members and friends and colleagues, I have been privileged to serve as JLAC chair. And I remember we did invite EACC in the last session. The only conviction EACC had done is a bribery of 20,000 shillings. What are we telling Kenyans? What are we telling Genz when they can see this club that you have built somewhere in a town, they can see these are proceeds of crime. And that the EACC will turn a blind eye, Mr. Speaker. We must resist, and I want to request, even as EACC struggle with the challenges of resources, we must disband, restructure to win the public confidence of this republic, Mr. Speaker. Number 4, Mr. Speaker, before I finish with austerities, this issue of SRC increasing the salaries of members of parliament and state officers is ill-advised. It is in bad faith. It wants to increase the public discontent, Mr. Speaker, and SRC must be called out, Mr. Speaker. You remember when UHC colleagues, interns, we invited SRC here. They told us there is no money to increase for UHC doctors or JSS, but they are quick to increase money for us members of parliament to create discontent and fuel the country into discontentment of members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. SRC we never requested for the increment of salaries. We have never. SRC is abusing its own power by trying to set us against the public. And I'm happy a number of colleagues have responded to this blackmail, misleading, corruption by SRC, Mr. Speaker. And I also propose SRC must be disbanded, Mr. Speaker, and serve. Let the SRC commissioners not serve monthly. They should serve as part-time commissioners. Because the problem we have with SRC, they are not serving part-time. They are busy trying to set and regulate salaries so that they justify their work in office, Mr. Speaker. While SLRC chair is giving herself a 10 million car grant for a Prado from Toyota Kenya. She is increasing her salary. She gets 2 car grants within 4 years, Mr. Speaker. The SRC, and I want to say and tell Kenyans, I am not interested. In fact, what I'm proposing going into the future, members of parliament, we should serve in part-time, just like other countries, Mr. Speaker. Then we agree how it works out. If that is the solution that will bring back the confidence of this Republic of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on judiciary, I served and I have the privilege of information. Mr. Speaker, Kenyans file more than 500,000 cases per year. I saw the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, respectfully, saying they can open up to midnight to handle these issues that we are experiencing. But she has never done anything about clearing backlog, Mr. Speaker. The bitterness Kenyans have is that they have a court case, they have not gotten a court order. For those people who do not have means, they are suffering. But the Chief Justice, to appear right and to appear popular, not to appear right, to appear popular but not right, is just giving a public relation exercise to the gallery by saying now, since everybody is no longer safe from Genz, and you know he was visited the other day in his office, she thinks by saying, let us handle all the protesters being brought to court, Mr. Speaker, who are not Orguns, is fair. The real problem with judiciary is backlog of cases. It should give us the matrix, the timeline of clearing cases, Mr. Speaker. And how can you justify from 1982, there is a court case up to today, a succession case, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, it's corruption. Kenyans are Mr. Speaker, are mad with all the institutions. And I want to tell everybody who is serving as a state officer, no one is no longer safe. Senator Majority Leader Aaron Cheruiyot will tell you Wamboka Wanami and Samuel Atandi, when they wanted to cross for safety, they could not. Because the people say, ndio wale. And I'm telling you, some things happen that I'm not comfortable to share because this is parliamentary guided program. It is a PG rated, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, on austerity measures, I will tell, I can see Senator Faki is interested, I will tell him in camera. Mr. Speaker, I plead with the President and all of us, as we go for austerity measures, just in 2 minutes, Mr. Speaker, please let us not cut amount that we are going to JSS for 6,000 teachers. Most of these 46,000 are young people. If we can confirm them to permanent and pension, Mr. Speaker, we shall also be fair to young people on these 46,000 junior secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, number 2, let us not reduce the allocation to counties. Because it was not pro rata, as majority leader said, it was based on equity. Just a minute, Mr. Speaker. And also, finally, Mr. Speaker, let us not cut money that was going to confirm the UHC intern doctors, among others, within the medical sector, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I support this motion. Let us bring back this nation to where it should be. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator Sifuna.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. First, let me start by saying that I want to laud the leadership of the majority and the minority sides that have brought this motion this morning. And to just say to the Honorable Senator Aaron Cheruiyot that you will struggle, my brother, to make a better speech than what you've made this morning. And I am sure it has given a lot of hope to a lot of people in this country that, in fact, this institution of the Senate can rise to the occasion when other people are failing. They say that with great power comes great responsibility. And I don't think that in this House there was somebody with a greater responsibility other than you as a majority leader to set the tone for the discussion that we want to have this particular morning. I think I hear what Kenyans are saying. They want to see from the leadership of this country contrition. They want to see remorse. They want to see us taking responsibility for everything that has happened, that has led us to this particular moment. And allow me to follow in your footsteps and also tender an unreserved apology to the people of Kenya if I have contributed in any way by my conduct, by my speech, to bringing the country to where it is today. I apologize for that. Honorable Speaker, as a senator of Nairobi, you know that Nairobi has borne the brunt of the protest, of the killings, of the loss of lives, of the loss of property. As we speak right now, we have 39, as of the last count, people who have lost lives across the country. And more than half of that, at least 19, have been killed in the city of Nairobi. Honorable Speaker, out of those 19 that have died in the city of Nairobi, between 6 and 8 of them, the numbers are yet to be confirmed, were actually shot outside this very parliament. And as we join our country and our colleagues in mourning, I also want to take this opportunity to send my heartfelt condolences to all the families that have lost their loved ones in this particular protest. Of course, Honorable Speaker, because we have been the epicenter of these riots and protests, we have a lot of damage that has been done to public and private infrastructure. We have lost a lot of property. In fact, the value is unknown. We will need time to actually do an audit of all the property that has been destroyed. Businesses in Nairobi CBD have been shut. There have been all sorts of claims, Honorable Speaker. There's people who have come to me and even talked about ethnic profiling of some of the attacks on the businesses, that it's certain communities that are being attacked and others are not being attacked. We are in a place where we have never been in terms of the crisis that is facing us. And all I hear the young people of this country saying is that we as a leadership now need to stop talking. We now need to stop talking and want to listen to these young people. Honorable Speaker, I have been turning down invitations to media houses because I'm asking these media houses, why don't you invite these Gen Zs themselves to tell you what it is they want, to paint a picture of the kind of country that they want? Would you believe it, Honorable Speaker? There are many Gen Zs who are being invited to these TV shows, that they will not leave that TV station of being arrested or detained outside those TV stations. And the conversation here, Honorable Senator Cheruiyot, is that we now need to do certain things to facilitate a conversation to happen, starting with what we are doing here. We need to show remorse as leaders. We need to stop threats to people who are expressing themselves. I am in a WhatsApp group, somebody is sharing what is it called, a charge sheet of someone who's being arraigned in court because they said Ruto must go. I mean, Honorable Chair, we must get to a place where if we are going to have a national conversation, let us allow people to express themselves, and that is the only way we will hear what they have to say. We need to put aside our egos. I know some of the things that we are being told and the things that are being directed at us is very humiliating. As leaders, we are not accustomed to this. But, Honorable Speaker, it is a time to set egos aside and just listen. There is something very profound that the majority leader told me yesterday. He said, Sifuna, right now, there are no more political goals to be scored. There isn't even a political game now going on because all of us in the political class are actually indicted by the people of this republic that we have failed in terms of what we need to do to get this country where it's supposed to be. I have shared an example here that on the day of the 25th of June, anybody driving a Prado was being stoned in the city of Nairobi. And by the way, although it is a car that is popular with members of parliament, very many Kenyans actually drive this car. It is one of the most ubiquitous cars in the streets of Nairobi. So imagine you being a doctor or a lawyer, you have nothing to do with parliament, driving around the city and people attack you because of the car that you're driving. It is a problem that we have to solve. By our own conduct, we have put all of us in the line of fire. An MCA leaving the County Assembly of Nairobi, one of the nominated MCAs, was attacked, Honorable Speaker. And yes, she was, her car was badly damaged. She was badly hurt, including her driver. She had to get surgery. By the time people are saying, oh, stop, this is not a member of parliament, or this is a member of the National Assembly, you are already dead. That is what we are saying. We need to come and rise above all these differences that we've always had to have a conversation about our country. Kenya has changed forever, by the way. And we must not allow us to go back to the bad manners. I was seeing clips of young people on TikTok saying they are very happy there are no more strobe lights, there are no more sirens, people are not overlapping. They are asking, where have all these big vehicles gone in the streets of Nairobi? Honorable Speaker, I saw a newspaper article in the Standard today saying that MPs are in hiding, members of the National Assembly are in hiding. And the question is, where are these members? I'm very proud to be a senator today, that we are not hiding from the people. We are here to actually take responsibility for all our actions and to try and assuage or deal with the problems that we have contributed in bringing about. So, Honorable Speaker, there are things, in my view, that we can do. And this moment does not call for us to tell the young people what to do. We need to demonstrate that we are hearing what they are saying and look at ourselves in the mirror, Honorable Speaker. It has to be about us. We start with the House of Senate and the House of Parliament, and as leadership generally, so that we are able to demonstrate that we understand what these young people are saying. So in my presentation, Honorable Speaker, I will be proposing that we don't tell anybody else other than ourselves what we are going to do going forward to try and help this country to move from the quagmire that it finds itself in. And there are very low-hanging fruits. My friends here have spoken, for instance, about the supposed salary increments. By the way, in defense of the SRC, I know many of you have bashed them here. That Gazette notice that is in the public domain and discussion right now was published on the 9th of August 2023, the day we went for elections. I am telling you, because it is supposed to be 2022, 9th of August 2022, because it's supposed to be that members of parliament, when you go for elections, people should know how much money you're going to make in advance. And the role of setting salaries was removed from us. The public still thinks that Sifuna has the power to increase his own salary. I do not have that power. That power is in a constitutional commission called the SRC. Honorable Speaker, what we need to do, and I'm very happy my colleagues who have gone before me have said it, in all honesty, nobody asked for that increment. Nobody that I know. Personally, I never asked for that increment of 14,000 shillings. And it is to be tone deaf if we are going to insist
that we get that increment this particular year or next year, when the economy is in the doldrums, when many Kenyans have nothing to put on the table. So I also support the proposal by members who have spoken before me that we formally resolve that we as a Senate are not interested in any additional salaries this particular financial year. Number two, Honorable Speaker, we need to relook at our budgets in this House, and see where we can make major concessions and cuts for members of the public to feel that we are actually lessening the burden and not increasing the burden. And I want to give a personal example, and you'll forgive me if I'm giving out house secrets. Honorable Chair, when I became the Deputy Minority Whip, I was allocated a vehicle, a GK vehicle. On the first day that I used that car to go home, I passed through the expressway. I was shocked, Honorable Speaker, at the amount of money that is on my ETC card for my parliamentary car. As of this morning, when I used that same car to come here, there is 377,000 Kenyan shillings on my ETC. There is 377,000 Kenyan shillings on the ETC of the vehicle that have been given by Parliament. It does not make sense. It does not make sense, Honorable Speaker. So what you do, members of Parliament, the staff of Parliament have to be honest with Kenyans. In the way the budgets of Parliament are prepared, there are ways and means of reducing the expenditure in this House in a manner that will reduce the burden on taxpayers. I honestly do not need all that money. Even if I ran up and down the expressway for a year, I would never exhaust 370,000 Kenyan shillings. So, Honorable Speaker, we must do this so that we demonstrate to the people that we are serious about what we are talking about. Number three, Honorable Speaker, I want to speak about something in the motion. The Majority Leader proposed that National Assembly should reconvene so that they deal with the question of the presidential memorandum on the finance bill. Mr. Speaker, just as a constitutional lawyer, we in the opposition or in the minority have a different take on how this finance bill should be dealt with. Honorable Speaker, if you look at Article 115 on what should happen to a bill when it is sent back to Parliament, 115 sub-article 3, it says, if Parliament amends the bill fully accommodating the President's reservations, the appropriate Speaker shall resubmit it to the President for assent. What that means, Honorable Leader, is that the President has to be sent something back after that process of consideration of his memorandum. I do not think the Constitution envisaged a situation where you are sending a blank document from Parliament to the President for assent. Because what the presidential memorandum is proposing is a deletion of all the clauses contained in the finance bill. So you will have an empty piece of paper. It will have nothing on it. Then you are sending it back to the President for assent. What is he assenting to? So the proposal that has come from Honorable Tiende Amolo, for us, makes a bit more sense. That you allow there to be a bill that is introduced to repeal the finance bill as was passed. Because in the language of Article 115, we do not think that it can be done the way that it is being proposed. So, Honorable Speaker, another thing that we can do, let there be a public pronouncement from the head of state that we are going to stop these arrests, these abductions that have been ongoing, free everyone who's been arrested because of this protest, as the Majority Leader said, honor our dead and the people who are still in hospitals. There is a question of opulence and corruption and the corrupting influence of money in politics. Honorable Majority Leader, when you spoke about that, I was very happy because we have to have a conversation. I was at a conference at one place and somebody was saying how it has become expensive to join politics. And I said it is actually used as a scare tactic to scare away people from political participation. If a young man hears that for you to become the Senator of Nairobi, you need 70 million shillings or 100 million shillings, where do you think that person will never participate in elections? Where are we supposed to get this money? We want the young people to understand that they have demonstrated to this country that you in fact do not need the sort of resources that we are told you need for you to become a political player. Honorable Speaker, there's this question of a ban on harambes. As a lawyer, I am aware there is already legislation that tries to limit participation of political players in harambes.
but is limited to the last few months. I think it's, is it 6 months or 9 months to the election? What we should be doing, we should be saying, because now it has become culture that campaigns begin immediately after elections anyway. After you are sworn in, your opponent is already on the ground saying Sifuna must go. So why don't we just extend the period and say, throughout the term of parliament, members of parliament should not be allowed to participate in these harambes and demonstrate the sort of opulence that we have seen. The majority leader and Honorable Khalwale has spoken about a rigged economy, and that is something that has touched my heart. Those of us who are born where we were born, Honorable Speaker, many of our young people, including myself, have always wondered how is it possible that people who we know had lesser grades, had far inferior grades in school. We were better than them at everything. They are making progress at a faster rate just because of their second name. We are just there languishing. People have 6 degrees, have never gotten an opportunity. People go for interview after interview. The moment somebody sees your name is Watenya or Sifuna, your CV is put aside. Wanasema leta ya huyu. It is very embarrassing, Honorable Majority Leader, that sometimes an entire institution from top to bottom has members of only one community serving in that office. I think these are the things that are going to make our people extremely mad every time these matters are brought about. So if you don't address these matters, Honorable Speaker, we are not going to be able to deal with the problem. We have seen young people, especially when it comes to employment in public service. Honorable Speaker, you qualify as a teacher. You are waiting all your life to be employed as a teacher. Then you see leaders in public rallies, in funerals, handing and dishing out employment letters from TSC. And when you go to TSC, they tell you, oh, there is a system, everybody is logged in, and see which criteria is used, and they eventually reach you. But you can see people dishing out letters from TSC, from KWS, from NYS, in harambes and in funerals, Honorable Speaker. I think, and even police, these are the things that we need to work on as a leadership so that we stop all this anger that you see. Let me go to another thing, Honorable Speaker. An angry people cannot be reasoned with. Right now, people are very angry. And this is why I'm trying to, explain to this House that we are not going to be prescriptive in how we deal with this issue. We are hoping, Honorable Speaker, that we can demonstrate to the country that at least there is a place where a conversation can be had. Senate is the only House of Parliament that goes to the people. We don't fear the people. That's why we are still here. So if it is possible for us, even if it is going to Uhuru Park, as somebody has suggested, we are ready to be insulted because at some point we deserve to be insulted. But at the very end of those insults, I think we will be able to pick some few things. Honorable Majority Leader was telling us a story of how he logged into one of the Twitter spaces, and he said there was maybe 60% expletives and insults, but 40% was good material, and it has inspired even the speech that he made this morning. So let us put ourselves at the disposal of the people. We should be available to the people so that we deal with this. On debt, I agree with you, Honorable Majority Leader, that there has to be a public audit of all Kenya's debt so that we know what the truth about this is. On budget, we have, explained, and I've given an example here of how we feel that sometimes our budgeting process is padded in such a way that it allows for budgeted corruption. We have estimated, Honorable Speaker, at least those of us on the minority side, that we can do away with at least 1 trillion shillings in this budget. And we don't need to punish anyone. We just need to cut on expenditure in our own institutions. I will go to some of the proposals that I have received from members of the public. Number one, Honorable Speaker, there needs to be an audit of all appointments from September 13th, 2023. Because as Honorable Senator Khalwale spoke and said, there are some offices that have been created that we do not even understand the basis of their existence. Look at the number of advisors in government. There needs to be a public audit of all these advisors. And tell Kenyans why it is okay for one office of the advisor on the economic matters, Honorable Khalwale, to have more money for travel than 9 committees of this House combined. It doesn't make any sense. There is also the specter of personal assistance in government. We need a public audit of that. There was another office at Majority Leader of faith intercessors. We need a public audit of who are these people and why are they earning public money. Honorable Speaker, I had occasion to see one business card of one of those faith intercessors. It was the most powerful business card I have ever seen in my life. Honorable Speaker, you have spoken about the office of the First Lady, and I am happy that the President himself took a first initial step to say that office will cease existing from, I think he said, Monday of this week. It had 285 employees. I am telling you. The Deputy President, the wife of the Deputy President's office, 100 employees. Honorable Speaker, we cannot continue like this. Then there is the specter of retreats. And this one, we are all guilty as members of this House. We need to look at our retreats, whether the retreats we are taking are necessary, whether these meetings cannot be had here, whether those resolutions cannot be dealt with here. And then in the independent commissions, in the ministries and in corporations, I was just being told that there actually also exist fake retreats. There's something called a fake retreat, where there was no retreat, but people are being paid for going on a retreat. Then on the foreign trips, Honorable Speaker, these are things we all understand. Let us be able to demonstrate to the public that we're actually serious and we hear them. Just one more minute.
Let's add in 1 more minute to conclude.
And then on the ODPP, I was just conferring here with my friend, the senator from Migori. We were shocked when we heard that a plea bargain had been entered in the Migori corruption case, that a governor who's been accused of stealing billions of shillings has agreed to return 300 million, and then the case is withdrawn. I want to call for an audit of all the cases that have been withdrawn in the past 12 or 24 months, Honorable Speaker, so that we understand the legal basis for the withdrawal of these cases, because this is where we are failing. For as long as you can demonstrate, Honorable Speaker, that these cases are going nowhere, that is where people get the confidence that the Majority Leader was speaking about to engage in some of these things. Lastly, we need respect for the Constitution and constitutional institutions and the bodies across the public service and across the national executive infrastructure. So, for instance, Honorable Speaker, I was being given an example that even the mess we have in the management of public service, that an executive order is made transferring the functions of a PSC on HR matters to a body called State Corporations Advisory Committee, which is duplication of roles. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this motion, and let us put up that humane face that Kenyans are looking to see, that we can actually engage on these matters. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Mohamed Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My son, Honorable Speaker, who is in St. Vincent Medical College, called me yesterday and asked me, Baba, why are these people calling you M-pigs? He asked me, why are Genz, why are they calling parliamentarians M-pigs? And I told him, I don't know, but there is something that is wrong with us. Honorable Speaker, in support of this motion, let me say a few things.
Senator Osotsi, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I think we are having a very important reflection in this House. We are talking to matters of discrimination. We are talking to matter of unethical conduct. But we are seeing the same being practiced even before our own eyes. Mr. Speaker, I came here as the first person to log in. And I'm seeing that the members are being called to contribute as we sit here and wait. Is this fair? When we are talking about fairness, we should exercise that fairness, even in this motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let us follow the list that is there on the screen. so that we exercise fairness. I understand leadership can be given priority. But what about people who are not in leadership and there is priority list there? Let us follow the list, Mr. Speaker, so that we demonstrate to Kenyans that indeed we are talking about fairness.
Just a moment, Senator Chute. Senator Osotsi, am I to understand that by calling Senator Mohammed Chute, the chair is not following the order of debate? Because the speaker just before Senator Chute was Senator Sifuna, and he's in the leadership. And every institution, the reason why Senator Cherargei was given an opportunity was because he was next in the list, and Senator Lelengwe, who is in leadership, was not on the list. And the order of this House is that if one speaker on this side speaks, I have to give an opportunity to speakers on the other side. Senator Osotsi. And I've actually had a personal discussion with you. You know very well that your colleague, Senator Beatrice Ogola, who is the next speaker, made a special request because she is traveling. The chair has to listen to such pleas from members from time to time so that we can accommodate for them. So there is no way, Senator Osotsi, you can stand on the floor of this House and accuse the chair of being unfair. Senator Osotsi, we agreed you're going to speak after Beatrice on that side. Senator Chute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I hope my friend Osotsi is not complaining about me, because I was definitely ahead of him. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I was talking about Genz. And let me take this opportunity to thank our majority leader and the minority leader. You've done something extremely, what I've never thought of, that you fought, you talked, and you represented this country, not your parties, not an individual interest. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Having said that, Honorable Speaker, we have a problem. And the problem facing this country is huge, and we need a solution. Gen Zs are asking for a solution. They are not asking for discussion. What is a solution? Honorable Speaker, first of all, what is important is this. When the President discussed this issue of the finance bill, I know his intentions were very good, but the problem was communication. It was not communicated well, and that is why we are facing the problem we are facing today. Honorable Speaker, our problem is not the issue of finance bill only. This country is rotten to the core. What is our problem? Problem is excesses, number one. You will find a minister or an MP who is well connected, goes to Harambee and contributes 20 million shillings. And he starts with 5 million. One club, 5 million. Second club, 6 million. 7, 8 million. 9, 10 million. And then 20 million. Honorable Speaker, if somebody from Marsabit calls me and says, he asks me, hawa watu wametoa hiyo pesa wapi, mzee? I told him, I don't know. Wametoa wapi? I don't know. I saw a minister, CS, wearing a watch, inaitwa Hublot. I don't know if it's Hablo or Hublot. That one, I need to be corrected. Costing 3.2 million shillings. If you look at his belt, 500,000 shillings. His shoes, 680,000 shillings. The suit, almost 1.2 million. 6 million shillings. if somebody gets money from you, when they have brought these issues, and we are going to face it head on. Honorable Speaker, if we want to stop, as a Senate, we must start from the counties. Speaker, if you look at, I'm in the devolution committee, my chair is here, Chair Abbas, and some development projects and programs in of 6% only. Out of 8 to 9 billion, 10 billion shillings, 6% of 10 billion is maybe 6 million only, if I'm not wrong. So, if we ask the Senate today to stop sending development funds to some counties, will I be wrong? No, because there is no development. There is none. Even, let us look at Kisii. It's a 6%. Nairobi, 6%. So, Honorable Speaker, let me thank the Genzs, and if there are any other people or persons or groups who can join JCs to support this country or to help us solve this problem, I would really appreciate. Honorable Speaker, there is a democratic space that we are lacking in this country. And the laws of this country are very clear. Give people space to talk, to picket, to demonstrate, and to even give statements of what they need for themselves. This is a democratic country. Police brutality should stop. Reverend Njoya was beaten in front of this parliament, I don't know like what, in 1996, I think. And in 2024, the same thing is happening. When is this going to stop? The IG should resign. That is point number one. On corruption, EACC, Honorable Speaker, if you report something today to EACC, after 1 hour, somebody will call you from Marsabit and say, oh, did you go to EACC? What did you report there? How would this person know? 500 kilometers from Marsabit. It's definitely somebody who is in that office leaking that information. Well, if you ask me today, it should be disbanded like yesterday, not today. Honorable Speaker, we are seeking solutions here. And this is what JZs want. That is what they're asking for. We stop our excesses. What is wrong if the president today says, I'm going to sack all the ministers? Why don't you sack them? Let them go home. There are other people, Kenyans, who can do the same job effectively and efficiently. Futa hawakasi. Sack them. The other day you heard about fertilizers. That man is still in office. Cooking oil. The CS is still in office. And the president is aware. And the CEO of Kenya National Trading Corporation said, why do you ask me these questions? My seniors are the people who sent those traders to my office. Who are these seniors? The president should sack all the ministers, employ fresh ones, and we move forward. On the borrowings, Honorable Speaker, if you look at President Moi's budget in 2007, was 2.18 billion shillings. The expenditure was 324 billion. Honorable Speaker, similarly, President in 2012, the budget was at 1.52 trillion. And today, our budget is at 3.9 trillion shillings. Honorable Speaker, we have a problem. Our problem are not taxes that is being paid. Our problem is our expenditure. We live beyond our means. We have thieves as ministers. We have thieves as PSS. We have thieves as MPs. We have thieves as senators. Honorable Speaker, let's not spare this house also. We have a problem. We must start from this house. We must start from this house. Everybody knows how much we are earning. Even in this house, there are people who live extravagantly in this house, and we know who they are. Honorable Speaker, there are issues about counties. Honorable Speaker, there are devolved functions that have not been transferred up to today. Why do we need regional offices, regional bodies doing some work that's supposed to be done by the counties? Do you know the reason? Because of corruption. Yes, that is what is happening. You create regional offices, and then yet, constitutionally, those issues are supposed to be in the counties. They are devolved. Why do you keep the money here? I want to ask our president, if he really loves this country, let him follow our constitution. Let him send all the monies to the counties. Even CDF money should go to the counties. This is not MP's business. It should go to the counties, managed by the counties. We have regional offices, even in Marsabit. We have regional offices in Isiolo. We have one operating from Garissa. So many offices. These are conduits of theft. Honorable Speaker, and I really appreciate what our majority leader has done today. He has opened the free space for us to talk. And you remember, our Deputy President said, there are some people who have eaten so much, they start vomiting on us. That is very true. Very, very true. I want to urge our President, this is the right time, the right opportunity for you. Don't wait for these young boys and girls to come and talk to you. You know what they've asked for? Please start by, first of all, sacking all the ministers. Futayote, PSS, regional offices, take it back to the counties. And the president should support the county government. And Honorable Speaker, the county government also should stop its excesses. What I would urge this House to do is to visit counties so that we look at the excesses, the employment programs, and the development programs. And then we come up with a law that will curtail theft in those counties. About 2 months ago, your Honorable Speaker, Governor for Marsabit was brought before EACC. And 2 months since then, they are bragging around Nairobi area saying, kwani EACC ko, what can be done to us? There is nothing that can be done. Oh, we are dining with the president. We sit in his helicopter. We take photos with him. Who will touch us? I want to ask the president, please, don't dine. Don't sit with thieves. Fukuzawa, chase them away. When you are seen with the president, oh, you think like now there is no case against you. There is a case against you. And I want to urge ODPP also to, in fact, it should be disbanded. There's nothing they are doing. Like I think Honorable Khalwale has said. They select who to prosecute, who to take to court, and who not to take to court, depending on which party you come from or where you come from. And that's very serious, Honorable Speaker. I want to today thank God and Genz for creating this space for us to talk what we want. Honorable Speaker, there is the issue of cooking oil, imported cooking oil. It is in almost 50 godowns today, expiring, and the government has lost over 17 billion shillings. And those people are still in the office because they are politically correct. I want to urge the president, please, even if somebody is politically correct, you are trying to help a certain region, please stop doing that. Do your work, sack all of them. Because you've lost a lot of money. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask our majority leader and minority leader to think about what we are going to do in order to handle issues in the county governments. Because the problem starts with the counties. Every Gen Z comes from a county. Honorable Speaker, if you go to a county, your county today, you will find foreigners, people from I don't know where, work in those counties. If these JZs are allowed to work in their counties, do you think we have this kind of a problem? No, we don't have. But they cannot work. Only the family, close relatives to the governors who are given those contracts. And don't you think the president is not aware? He's aware. We normally send him texts telling him this and this is happening in our counties. So he should take charge. The monies that are going to the counties are monies that are from taxpayers' money. They are not, that doesn't belong to the counties. No, it doesn't belong to the governor. The governor sits in Nairobi and then controls monies in either Wajir, Marsabit, Isiolo, Samburu. Why is this happening? What business do you have in Nairobi? It's because you just went there as a governor to steal, but not to work for the people. Finally, Honorable Speaker, what I want to see from the president, the governors who has cases, who are now being questioned, he should ask them to step aside. And thorough investigation should be started. Honorable Speaker, this House, Senate House, our business mainly is county business. And it is constitutionally mandated to look into any business that are being handled in the counties. Are we doing that? No, not the way we are supposed to do. I will ask these distinguished senators, please, let's take time. Let's sit and have a discussion on how to tackle the most problematic counties, starting from the bottom, going up. We can have committees, special committees. Send one to Marsabit, send the other one to Olo, another one to Mandera. Then you will solve these problems. Even Machakos. So, Honorable Speaker, under Article 75, conduct of a state officer. It says a state officer shall behave whether in public and official life, in private life, or in association with any person, in a manner that avoids, you should avoid gifts. We have a judge there. Donations. And today, Honorable Speaker, what I would request us to do, there is an organizations which are like, let's say, for example, Kena, Kera, Kura. If you go there today, those director generals are supposed to be asked to step aside so that lifestyle audit can be instituted. Honorable Speaker, if you go to any office today, either government or any other institution, you will be told, if you want to ask for contracts or employment for your people, you will be told, sorry, we don't have. Because it has started from somewhere in the State House. There are some brokers working in the State House that normally go to places and say, we need employment for our people. And the president said, employ 500. And it's not true. KRA were before us. They employed 56% of one community. And do you think the president is aware? No. Even some CEOs working in institutions are worried. They are being forced to do things that they are not supposed to do. And this man has been sent by so-and-so, you must do this, you must buy this, you must sell this. They have a problem. And the only person who can solve this problem is for the president to do a memo to all CEOs and director generals to tell them, listen, don't listen to anybody who uses my name. He must have a memo and publicized. We need to see that memo also, that the president has 1 minute only, please. 1 minute. I want to finalize. I want to conclude.
We're running out of time. 1 minute.
So, if we have that kind of a memo, I'm sure these thieves will stop stealing from our people. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, I want to thank the members here. Last week, Wednesday, we almost went on adjournment. And I want to thank the 19 senators who said we should not go, including myself. And today, our majority leader has seen the fruit of us saying no. And I want to thank both the leader of majority and minority for bringing this issue today before the public, before the people of Kenya, and before the Senate. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Thank you,